Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to my breakdown of the brand new Star Wars Squadrons gameplay reveal. I am super excited to be bringing you guys this video. I was lucky enough actually to get it slightly in advance from EA as part of the Game Changers program, so special thank you to them, and that's why I'm able to post this video right as EA Play has ended. I'll also include a link down in the description to the full trailer because I won't be playing it in its entirety here. I'd rather just comment over it and give you guys my impressions and some details that I noticed. And my impressions generally are actually very good. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit worried even after the reveal trailer that this would basically be a slightly more complex version of Starfighter Assault, and that's clearly not what they're going for here. They've clearly reworked a bunch of mechanics. The flying looks just phenomenal, the cockpit detail, the customization, everything. So let's restart the trailer, and I really want to go over some things that I noticed and also talk about some of the other things that were brought up in the EA Play presentation and also that we've learned since the reveal trailer. And let me just scroll ahead and find a ship where a shot where we can see the inside of the ship, because we've also learned a little bit more about how the customization will work and the different components of a starfighter. So let's just wait. We should see one here in just a second. Alright, so looking at the ship's cockpit, we can see a lot of things will differ between each starfighter. This right here is an A-wing. You can tell based on the ship in the middle of the sensor profile here, and of course it's targeting a TIE fighter, Titan IV. I guess that will just be the name of whatever squadron member you're currently targeting. So we can also see a bunch of dials and things here, and we've learned that you can adjust not only where power goes in the ship, so right now a lot's going to speed, but you can also change whether a ship is angling its deflector shields. So you can set, if the ship has shielding anyway, because we've also learned that certain won't, presumably just the TIE fighter. It seems based on this trailer that the TIE Interceptor does have shielding, but you can also set shields to go double back or double front, and that will have some different effects, like you will go a little bit slower, so that's interesting. Just jumping in with a slight correction after recording this and double checking the information, it seems like certain ships will be unshielded generally, and they probably won't have a shielding slot, although that is possible. However, unshielded ships, which are presumably all of the TIE fighter line except for the TIE Reaper, will have better weapons and speed, and it also seems like they might be able to shift power a little more quickly than their New Republic counterparts. Sorry, on with the analysis. Aside from that, we are able to change out kind of like a main weapon and then auxiliary features as well. There's different ones that we see later on in the video, and I think they give an entire list actually of every single customizable feature that will be included, and some of them are pretty cool, but we'll get to that in a minute. This right here, this bar with the dots across, that represents the charge on your blasters, so you can't just spam your cannons, it seems, but I presume that if you add more power to your guns, you'll be able to do more damage, or perhaps fire for longer.
The Imperial fleet is still a threat.
I will say too, it really looks like they've improved the Star Destroyer model really significantly compared to what we saw in Battlefront 2, and it's miles better than what was in Jedi Fallen Order as well, so that's good to see.
Vanguard Squadron. Let's make history.
Some more look at the cockpit there. And I was a little bit worried when we first saw the trailer that it would only be CR90s on the Rebel side and Architens on the Imperial side, sort of the light cruiser there. But not only have we seen GR75s right here, I assume this will probably be part of some campaign mission, but we've also seen Nebulon Bs and Raider gunships as well for the Empire, which is sort of like their version of a CR90. You can see one right there. Of course, there's the Nebulon B. One thing we haven't seen very much in Star Wars video games as well is an Imperial Star Destroyer actually firing its turbo laser, so it's nice to see. This isn't really a full barrage. We're not getting the big topside guns firing, but we're getting missiles, we're getting turbo lasers. That gives me some hope that we'll actually see capital ships do something in this game, and that there'll actually be some sort of a threat. Because in other Star Wars games, you can fly right by a Star Destroyer. There's not really too much to worry about. but if they're actually going to be dangerous, I think that would sort of counteract heavier ships like the Y-Wing, for example, doing things like bombing runs. This is the Nadiri shipyard. So right here you can see the very front of a Starhawk. This is sort of the tractor beam emitter right here. This is some MC-75, which looks like it's taking one for the team. And it looks like we're getting two different perspectives on the same mission here. The story has been described sort of as like interweaving. It's very possible that you play through an Imperial campaign and a Rebel campaign. You're essentially just doing the same missions, just from different sides. So if you're on the Imperial side, maybe you're attacking the Nadiri shipyards. If you're on the New Republic side, perhaps you're defending it. I guess that means that only one of the stories is canon, which is personally fine with me, but I'm interested to see how they handle that.
Their story spanning two factions. All stations, fire on that ship! And master multiplayer battles as a squadron of 5. With the option to play the entire game in VR.
VR support will be really cool. I think I'll probably get sick. But yeah, you can see a little Mon Calamari commander there or something. It seems like there's going to be a lot of detail in the cockpits. I'm still wondering, you see this icon a bunch of times on the HUD in this sort of sensor screen. I'm wondering what that does exactly, what this little shield icon is, because sometimes you see it in the middle of the screen, sometimes it's over here. And the sensors are going to be important because it seems like you can drop pickups and stuff that will help your team, especially when you're playing something like the U-Wing, which is more of a support ship.
This is the definitive Star Wars pilot experience. Come on.
Pretty cool explosion there.
You'll begin your career in a single-player story.
So yeah, there's a better look at the greebling and stuff on the Star Destroyer. Much improved versus previous models, and you can also see kind of the side of the Raider gunship there as well.
Welcome to Titan Squadron.
Where you'll play as 2 combat pilots, flying for both the Empire and the...
So I think that was a shot of the TIE fighter right there. And if you actually look, you can see... Actually, you can't see it in this shot because not all the consoles lit up. But later on, you can see that instead of having 3 bars that you can shunt power between, there's only actually 2.
Both the Empire and the New Republic.
Pretty big fleet there. So yeah, this is just a better look at the cockpit. I think they're going to add a lot of customization because this is really, I mean, you can customize the Starfighter, but that's ultimately for other people. But, you know, we see a bobblehead later on, and that's really cool. So if you can make the interior of the cockpit really your own, that'll be awesome, especially in VR.
Experience this world through your cockpit.
Beautiful graphics as well. The lighting and everything. Oh, so here's a TIE fighter. And yeah, you can see that it's got no shield bar here, just the weapons and the thruster. So that's, I like that because one of my main complaints about Battlefront 2 and Starfighter Assault was that an asymmetrical mode would have been somewhat cool. The Rebels and the Empire aren't the exact same. The ships should be different. So
Feedback about power management.
yeah, just a better look at everything here. And really, each one is heavily customized for each fighter.
Targeting and shields. With a squadron of diverse characters at your side.
It's the stuff we saw in the last video mostly. So I want to talk about this scene right here because you see the pilot pull off a maneuver that you see in the movies somewhat, especially in episode 8, but is very kind of common in the books. It's sort of like a drift, and they talk about using their, what are they called? Just basically the rudders on the ship allows them to kind of pull this turning drift, and you can obviously see how the pilot there uses it to get a better shot at the CR9 and completely change direction. So that's pretty cool. And I imagine that depending on what features you have installed on your ship, that maybe it's better at maneuvering like this. Maybe certain ships are better when you add features at just going straight ahead, but this is a TIE Interceptor, and it also doesn't have shields, although I think there's one later that does, and we did see that shielding components were something you could add onto your ship, so maybe that's an option, even for the Imperial ships, which would also make sense within the lore.
Hello, Vanguard. Welcome to the Nadiri dockyards.
One of my spies has linked the
So it's obviously Hera, as most have assumed. We're getting a nice look at the Starhawk. They're building them at Nadiri. You can see them putting in the tractor beam projector here, and this is kind of an earlier shot of the Starhawk in construction. At least it looks like the one that we see later on. It looks like there's maybe a CR-90 back there, a bunch of construction barges. I don't see the disassembled ISD, but maybe that's already been taken care of somewhere else. It looks very rusty and kind of low tech for how sort of super advanced these capital ships are, but that's very appropriate for the Alliance as well.
The story of the two pilots you play
Stick together.
will shape the balance of power in the galaxy.
Get ready.
Let them have it.
So yeah, just another look at the cockpit. Again, this is the A-Wing as well, so we've kind of already got a look at this, but you can tell that the abilities are different. This seems to be one of the countermeasures. This seems to be some sort of missile. This is the speed, and things like top speed, again, will depend on most likely the loadout of your ship as well as how you're changing the power. It looks like in this case, most of his power is going to shielding. At least I think that's what this one is. And then speed and firepower have changed, or are relatively lower. Backside of an MC-75 there.
Fight online. You'll need flight time with all 8 ships.
So it says to play online, you need flight time with all 8 ships. I'm not sure whether that's actually any sort of requirement or whether they're just saying that, but I don't know. Kind of interesting. Another thing that I want to mention is that this New Republic logo or insignia we see here is usually the one associated with the Legends New Republic. I know that's just a small detail, but I'm not sure whether that's been brought over to canon yet. Just thought that was interesting. We can see too just how kind of you can modify the appearance of each one of these fighters. Obviously, TIEs don't usually look like this, but pretty cool.
Are the most flexible and versatile, able to handle any situation.
So yeah, obviously it says it's targeting a Lambda shuttle here. It might still be. I don't doubt that you can target something with your computer and actually focus on something else, but I want to also point out how the shielding works here, and this is how Star Wars capital ships should be shielded. Often you just see whenever you fire at a capital ship, it just kind of absorbs it or whatever, but here we're actually seeing the shield pop out and shimmer as it's taking shots, and presumably if you go too close to that shield, you might actually be destroyed that way, which is not only probably a lot easier for the game developers to deal with, but more consistent with the lore as well. But yeah, it's really cool how much detail you get about the target you're fighting. This seems to be health, and this is probably, that's distance then as well.
Interceptors are fast and highly maneuverable.
Let's get them.
Ideal for hunting down your opponent's starfighters.
That was kind of fun.
So,
Support ship.
kind of wondering whether, so this seems to be some sort of hit marker right here,
Support ship ideal for hunting
which
down your
is
opponent's starfighters.
nice, and I'm sure that will depend on the ship as well.
Ships can keep allies safe and stop.
So this is support ships. We've been wondering what these things will be doing in the game, because why would you want to fly a U-Wing into the heat of battle? I was thinking maybe it would be one alternative way to take down a capital ship, but it does seem like the U-Wing and the TIE Reaper, I love the design of both of these ships, by the way, are heavy support ships. And appropriately, look at the size of the cockpit here. This is the TIE Reaper, you can tell by the overhead cannons and the design here. I'd be interested to see whether these things have more auxiliary powers and more countermeasures, and you probably want to either load this one out as like a heavy fire ship or like a true support ship. Maybe you can help people get more ammo or whatever else, or buff your teammates. All in all, very, very interesting. And I just really love the difference that each cockpit has. And I imagine, like, even if just psychological, that will really change how somebody flies. Like, look at the field of view you get here compared to something like a TIE fighter.
Locked up. As well as
On that note, I'm also kind of curious to see whether you can move your head around or whether you're locked straight ahead. Obviously, in VR, you'll be able to look around. But I don't know how that would be doable, or like if that's something doable in the game. Looks like maybe they're firing some sort of ion bolts here that's impacting the X-Wing. And in a second, you'll see it do some sort of maneuver. I can't decide whether that's the same sort of drift that I talked about earlier or whether it's something else. But let's just play it and I'll show you guys.
disrupting enemy
there it is. That could just be the ship being disabled as well.
Are the heavy hitters, able to deal devastating damage to enemy flagships and starfighters.
I mean, not much more to say about that other than the fact that it's awesome.
Bombers are the heavy hitters, able to deal.
So even this Imperial ship, the TIE bomber, seems like it doesn't have shields. So again, you're sacrificing, and you can also see what looks like the ship firing back at the TIE fighters. So that's cool.
Need something customized. I'll take care of it.
Unlock
So all of the customization in the game will be will not be purchasable, but will rather be earned, which is really cool, especially for a budget game. I kind of figured they would be trying to make a lot of money based on purchases, but I guess not.
everything you need to
Yeah, you can see the major, quite like that one. You can see the major differences you can make in the hull paint and stuff. You can also make your pilot look like Emma Watson if you want.
playing the game.
Yeah, really cool. You can change the gear and stuff too. Definitely have a lot of fun with that. And of course, the Ewok bobblehead. And many Wraith Squadron fans, I assume, will choose to go with that.
To an arsenal of over 50 components.
So I don't want to take too much time going through each one of these. I remember seeing this logo in the last one, and I kind of assumed that it was the health of your astromech on board. It doesn't seem to be, but we see a lot of really diversity in weapons. Baradium torpedoes, that's probably very high yield. Tractor beam, I assume that is only applicable to some of the larger ships. We see the Slam engine, which is really cool because that's something that was featured in the old TIE Fighter games. And then, yeah, some of these too, like reinforced hull, that's more like a passive effect. And there's some for shields too. I remember seeing like the deflector shield, resonance shield, nimble deflector. So each of these will sort of change how your ship handles. And there is actually, for ships that have a shield anyway, there is a shield component slot. So that's really cool.
That alter how your ships fly, fight, and survive.
They're on you.
I'll deal with it.
You can
Again, another really dramatic maneuver here, kind of like an air brake.
dramatically change your load.
And I'm assuming based on how they're talking about it, that this is something that's made either possible or more easy with the
Depending on your
with the
squadron.
loadout of the ship here.
Finally got him. This will be critical in Star Wars Squadrons multiplayer modes.
So there's two main multiplayer modes, and maybe just solely two multiplayer modes in the game. The first is like a deathmatch. We talked about this last breakdown. There's a dogfight mode, and then there's a proper, I think it's called capital ship battle mode. But the dogfight mode is just 5-on-5. Pretty simple.
This is an all-out 5v5 battle.
We can see him firing his, at least his torpedoes.
Your loadouts to work as a team.
Moving in on the enemy.
Utilize components
So yeah, he's used the tractor beam there.
like tractor beams.
And this is showing off some of the more exotic weapons, because, yeah, I imagine you can't have a tractor beam on anything smaller than the support ships.
Like tractor beams.
We're also about to see sort of an automated cannon, which I'm sure will be very annoying, and a bomb, which I could see being very useful for interceptors, or even slow ships that would commonly have enemies kind of on their tail. One thing I notice here is just how much detail in the game.
Squad mates for the kill.
You can see the I missed it, but you can see the shield flicker right there when they hit it, which is just, it's beautiful.
For an even greater challenge.
Blue Mon Calamari, very cool.
It's time to prove yourself in Star Wars Squadrons.
Fleet battles, sorry.
Fleet battles. Fleet battles are
So it makes a lot more sense here that they've got the Nebulon B instead of the Sierra 90s like we're in last trailer. That's much more approximate counter to the Architens.
Fleet battles are multi-stage conflicts. Whether playing solo or with friends, you'll have the option to compete against other players or AI as a squadron of 5.
Don't worry.
Just taking a look at the hull, or the inside, sorry, the cockpit. What ship is this even? Is this the Y-Wing?
Got him for you.
Meet your team in the crucial HUD.
So this is cool. So there's going to be some sort of... They talked about planning your battles sort of beforehand in one of the press releases they put out. So I kind of wonder whether this, like, each of these is the degree to which you can customize your character. But basically you can meet before game, you can see some tactical information about the ship. Interestingly, this fleet battle has at least 3 support ships. It's got the CR-90 and the Raider, and then the 2 Nebulon Bs. So I kind of wonder whether, as we'll see in a minute, one of the objectives is to take out the 2 medium-sized ships. So I kind of wonder whether the CR-90 will just be flying around the battle, kind of like it does in Battlefront 2.
To solidify strategy, coordinate loadouts, and prepare for...
That's really cool, though. It's very cinematic, which I really like. And it's just be cool to hang out with your squad mates before the battle, I think.
Winning the dogfight in the center of the map.
So this comes in 3 steps, sort of, and it's described as like a tug of war. So you can think of it kind of like capital supremacy in Battlefront 2, sort of, in that you have to defeat one stage to get to the next one, and then the more successful you are, the more you push in one direction. But if the enemy manages to repel you, then it goes back, and then they're kind of... So, like, I'm not sure what happens if you're on, say, the 3rd stage as the Rebel Alliance. If you're trying to destroy their capital ship and they move you back, I don't know if that means you move now to the 2nd stage or back to the middle, or maybe they go to the 1st offensive stage. Hard to tell.
Next, attack.
That looks more like a Resurgent to me. That is actually almost certainly a Resurgent Star Destroyer model there. Which is kind of weird, because ISDs don't really have that, that back part there. Beautiful detailing on the Nebulon B. So yeah, this is the final stage. And one thing that seems cool is that there's sort of multiple different approaches to the battle. You can go straight guns blazing, you can try to go for pure speed and blow past the defenders, you can go for stealth. So let's see how those different options work. So there's that icon again there. Not really sure what that means. Maybe that's...
At each phase, your squadron either pushes the line forward or falls back to defend. Keep our flagships safe. It's your squadron's choice of how to play.
Kind of surprised they went with the MC-75 instead of the Liberty, because they already had a good Liberty model made for a Starfighter Assault. But yeah, here we get to see that sort of drift again. Interestingly too, you see the kind of dash flash there. I assume that's like something... Oh yeah, and there's a massive boost. You can see they hit 259 in the speed, which is a lot. And yeah, they're just really taking advantage of the A-Wing sort of capabilities here. It's probably the best for a stealth kind of mission here. Like, the speed they're getting is massive. Also, was that a... Just a second. So yeah, here is an Imperial TIE Fighter. Oh wait, no, never mind. That's just showing that they're targeting a TIE Fighter. My mistake. But yeah, so presumably here they're using some sort of, maybe the slam booster. And then yeah, when they pull around the corner there with that drift, which is just beautiful. It looks like they're like maxing out one of their systems, or there's like a warning, which is cool. So it's very gamey, but in a fun way. Like, there will be a meta, like maybe you want to have one U-Wing with a certain explosive package, and then 2 Y-Wings and an A-Wing and an X-Wing. Hard to say, but this trailer looks great. This is all stuff we've seen before past this point. I am really excited. Sorry this video was a little bit rambly. I wanted to give you guys kind of a natural reaction. If you do want more, you can check out the live stream I did over on X2, where we watched this live. It was me, Charlie, Mark from the Temple Institute, and Corey from Corey Loses. And we're going to react probably to whatever else is shown at EA Play. But very exciting times. I hope you guys are all enjoying this. Until next time, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.